Hey everybody, it's Robert here. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming out and watching the last two videos that we put together regarding the race team. It's absolutely been phenomenal seeing all the positive comments and responses, and hopefully we can keep putting out some cool content for you guys. We did a little shot today with the M4 VLN car, which is getting a new wrap and everything like that. This morning I put out an Instagram post talking about what you might want to see in regards to the next video. It seemed like most people were interested in what it takes to be a taxi driver for us, or even more so, what the qualities of our taxi drivers are. We've got 6 people that we consider our core taxi drivers right now. We have 2 this year that are going to be our daily taxi drivers, our main taxi drivers, and then another 4 that are going to fill in as they're available and as we need. And I'm going to go through that list of drivers with you right now and tell you their qualities, why I have them on the team and why I accept them, and actually why I'm so proud to have them on the team. Because hands down, if you look at our 6 taxi drivers, I think we've got the best organization that there is in terms of excitement, speed, pace, what they do outside of taxi as well as inside the taxi program. We've got Moritz, we've got Tim. I'm going to go after that down to David, and then Luis, and then after Luis we'll talk about Morien, and then on to Fobson. It's a great group of guys. I mean, maybe at the end we'll talk about me and why I'm the best taxi driver of all of them. We'll just see about that. But anyhow, back in 2017 in the fall, we made the big decision that we were going to bid on a taxi license. And that was really a big step for us, because when you look at what Apex was in 2017, we had literally just started. We had a GT86 and a Cupra, and it was like, okay, now we're going to go and bid against a taxi license, which I think probably for a company that young was maybe a big step, maybe too big of a step. But we knew that we had to do it then because we couldn't get another chance to for 3 more years after that. So we made this step, and we didn't find out that we were actually getting the taxi license until February of 2018, and we had to be ready in March to actually start delivering laps. So it ended up being a bit of a challenge, and immediately was starting to work on what we were going to do for our taxi drivers. And at the time, Misha was already friends with Moritz, and Misha said, Robert, we should sit down with Moritz and see what we can do, what can we put together. And honestly, Moritz was at the time, and still is obviously, but at that time for me, a big name on the Nürburgring. He was racing in VLN, was very fast, very reliable driver in terms of racing. He was driving multiple cars to make sure that the cars would be driven to a pole position, if you would, and then also to a podium position after that. So racing in N24 and VLN in more than one cars, whether it be SP7 or Cup Car, and then also in the GT4 class, it was actually pretty impressive to see. And when the opportunity came for Moritz to sit down and talk with me, I said, man, you know, we're just starting here, and I actually felt a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to deliver for him. Not just to say, okay, we've got a good driver now, but I'm sitting here thinking, okay, here we go. We're getting a 720S, brand new car that hadn't really gotten a lot of track time by anybody at that point. And we were stepping out and starting this program. So that was a bit of a challenge. And, you know, so for me, I think I probably felt more responsibility than he did, maybe, you know, to make sure that he was happy and had a good seat, because he was somebody at that time that I really saw as a professional driver and someone that I wanted to represent Apex well to him. To be honest with you, as it's evolved over the last 2 years, he's held up to my respect in that regard. And over those 2 years, he's been the kind of driver that you say, Moritz is the guy you want in your car. Hands down, Moritz is the guy that you want driving your car in taxi. He's very fast. He's very reliable. You know, the taxi drivers have to be careful. Obviously, you want to see people going out as fast as they can and being as quick as they can and throwing the car around. There's certain things that have been banned by the Nürburgring. We can't drift. You see the M5s of the olden days flying around the corners, nailing the curbs in the center. You know, that kind of driving has actually been banned by the Nürburgring. And now we have to be really focused this day and age, as you can see with liability and things like that. We really have to focus on keeping the car safe, which ultimately means keeping the customer safe. So a lot of times I'll say he keeps the car safe, and that is referring to the entire package. The customer comes back safe every single time. So Moritz has been that reliable driver for us that is there day in and day out. He gets off a plane from racing somewhere and he's there and he's fit. He's slept on the plane and he's ready to go. He is just literally there. He's always relaxed in the car. He's so, if you watch videos of him, the nickname through Misha and all of the YouTube followers that are there have come to call him Ice Cold Moritz, and that's because he's, you know, just chilled. He's just relaxed, and that's something that he may not be the person that you're sitting next to that's yelling and chatting with you and making jokes, as we're going to get to with some of the people later, but he is just relaxed. And when people ride with him, he's got his sunglasses on and he's just flying, and they're just absolutely blown away by the speed at which he's operating. Another thing that's really neat about Moritz is, because of this changed driving style within taxi program, we want to be fast, we want to be quick, but he's also very keen to look after tire wear, brake wear, consumables, and things of that nature. And he finds a pace that's very fast and very entertaining for the customer, and then tries to maybe make it a little bit of a game to keep that pace. To give an example of how he is, and when I talk about how relaxed he is, he's sitting there and he's driving. And one day, I think I was in Italy at the time, and I was looking at the group chat, and the track had been closed for, I think, an hour and a half, and he was just bored. Who wouldn't have been bored at that time? And he was just relaxing. And I got a message from the group, "Hey Robert, do you mind if I go do a sub-7 lap real quick?" And I was just laughing. I was like, "Okay, Moritz, I guess if you want to do that, that's fine." I said, "But the tires are cold, and the track's been closed for an hour, so maybe it's not ideal." He goes, "Yeah, I know. I'm going to be careful. I just want to go see how the car does." So a couple minutes later, well, about 6 minutes and 50 seconds later, I get a message with a video, and it was the link to the video of the lap he just did. And sure enough, he went and did exactly what he wanted to do. Tires started out at, I think, 2.2 bar, and by the time he was done with the lap, they were at 3.3 bar, way over pressure. And it was just a really safe, controlled lap. He wasn't trying to go all out, but he just wanted to just go do a quick lap, and it was effortless for him. It was absolutely effortless for him. And you could tell that he probably had another 20 seconds or more in the bag, but this is something that other guys are out striving to do and trying to make these lap times, and they're really pushing for it. And for these guys, each one of these guys that I'm going to mention, this is just something that they do. And that's why you don't see us actually posting about lap times and chasing this, because the times that these guys are doing, even if it is that quick, it's actually not that hard for them to put together. When you get them in a car, it was just like why I said why I'm not driving the race car. It's because these guys just get in, they go, they're fast. It doesn't matter if it's a new car or not. They get 2 turns into it and they know what the car can do, and they're flying. So it's really neat to see that coming from Moritz on such a professional level, that he gets in the taxi and he really takes the responsibility of the customer on his shoulders. So again, Moritz is an amazing driver, someone that I am very proud to have on our team, and I look forward to actually doing more things with Moritz, not just with taxis, but also with different instruction programs and coaching programs. And essentially, we're going to work on what's we're calling the Apex School of Racing, and that's something that we're starting this year. So look out for another video with Moritz and I on that coming really soon. Another thing that you can do is, if you look down in the description of this video, I am going to put 6 lap videos. This is a link to a lap that was driven by each of our drivers. And so that could be pretty cool for you guys to go check out and see the different driver characteristics of each, okay? The next one that I'll move on to is Tim. Tim has made his way into Apex at really the early stages of Apex. He started working with us, I believe, late summer of 2017. And he caught my eye because back when he was coming to the Nürburgring as an enthusiast, he had his E36 that he rebuilt, and he built it. He built it all with friends and everything from the UK and in his workshop. And he came out here and he started immediately battling with the E36 group, and was right up there with, I mean, what I think his friends would call a shed build. Would that be about right? But we'll have Mitch and Nuno chime in and see if I use the term correctly. No, but it was a neat build, and it was but it was fast. It was very, very quick, and like I said, he just jumped right in and was battling with these E36 guys that had much better equipment and what should have been much faster cars, and he was right there, and that caught my eye. And at the time, we weren't looking for taxi drivers because we were obviously just a rental car company. But what I did need desperately was a mechanic, because back at the time, we only had a couple cars, but we were taking the cars from one shop to the other to get work done. Okay, if it needs tires, it goes here. If it needs brakes, it goes there. If it needs an oil change, it goes here. And that got to be pretty stressful, I guess, at the end of the day. And so, again, we made a gamble, because I think it was late summer, early fall, really, when he started working for us. And that's not really the time that you want to hire a new employee, especially when you're a new company and you're just starting out and looking at budgets and things like that. But he was a good guy, and he was available, and he said, "You know what, I want to move to the Nürburgring, I'll do that." So obviously he moved to the Nürburgring. He spent a lot of time in my E92, and he did the E92 V8 from Schirmer, and he spent a lot of time in that and had a really good time driving it. And I got to do some laps with him, he got to do some laps with me, and I got to see his car control and how he operated the car and how he drove the car, and it immediately stood out to me how safe he was and how smooth he was, but at the same time he was running an incredible pace. So he was taking the car, the E92, and on older tires on his second and third lap, he was within seconds of what we know that car did as a record on slick tires, and he was on a Trofeo R semi-slick tire, and that was with passenger in the car, with me in the car. And all of a sudden, it was clear to see that he was incredibly fast and was going to be somebody who I wanted to keep on the team as a part of Apex Taxi Drivers when it came about. And again, as a driver that I see very respectable in terms of what I think he can do pace-wise and what he can also do in keeping the car safe. Another reason why Tim is now in the Apex Racing Cayman, because of this speed, ability to keep the car safe and to run like that. So at the early stages of meeting him, I was very impressed with his speed, his reliability, and his safety. After that, I got him into the taxi program, and immediately he was doing 30 lap days, 40 lap days, 50 lap days. There's been track days where him and I teamed up, and he would take my 675, which I think he and Moritz are the only people I've ever let drive that with passengers, or even pushing it. And I'm not worried about those guys doing it. They get out there and they run it, and they do a fantastic job. And so we had days where we teamed up, and we each did in the 45, 50 laps between the track day and the evening session. And you know what? He just keeps going. And if you watch the laps, they're always consistent, the same pace, the same pace. See, we don't watch lap time to judge our speed, because anytime I mention a lap time, we're looking at it as we set lap times that we say this is about how fast we want to go. And that's actually not to go fast, but to go slower. Anytime I mention that, like I said, they could probably go 20 seconds faster, but we use it as a metric to hold us back. And his laps from lap 1 to lap 45 are the same pace, the same care, the same attention to detail, and the same customer care. And that's really neat to see in that case. Now, on the other hand, Tim is also still relatively young. Obviously, you saw that when he first came, and that's why he was going as fast as he was in the 36, because I think he had a little bit of a fearlessness in him, and he was able to say, okay, I'm gonna pick up the pace, I'm gonna go faster here. And in very, very few laps, he was very fast on the Nürburgring. I would say he was probably at one point when I first met him ages ago, he was probably like 30 laps into the Nürburgring and just absolutely flying. And you get people like all of these guys who have a natural ability to drive a car, and they are immediately on it, immediately smooth, and understand braking techniques, transfer of weight from each corner, whether it be through turning, braking, accelerating, and they apply that to the track immediately, and that makes a quick driver that makes the difference between just a quick driver and a truly fast and smooth driver. So the next thing about Tim is, as I said a moment ago, he started working for us as a mechanic. And that was because we needed the position filled, and he wanted a job at the Nürburgring. So a lot of times people come to the Nürburgring and do things that maybe they didn't say, oh yeah, I want to be a mechanic for a rental car company, let me come to the Nürburgring and do that. But he took the job doing that. Now, he is quite a good mechanic. And what that means is that when you take a good mechanic and you put him in a race car, and they're as good of a driver as Tim is, you end up with somebody that can troubleshoot the car. They can say, you know what, right front bearing's going out. I feel the brake pad shuddering. I feel it could be a bushing in the upper control arm on the right front. And 9 times out of 10, Tim will get out of the car, we'll put it up on the lift, and sure enough, what he said was wrong is actually the problem. And that makes the difference between a true troubleshooting race car driver and a fast race car driver. This is somebody that you actually can rely on to go out and test the car and tell you what they think is wrong with it. He does understand alignment setups. He understands vibrations, feelings of motors, transmissions. He can differentiate an issue from the gearbox to the drivetrain just by how the car feels. And that's a very, very valuable asset. And so Tim ultimately became somebody that I really wanted to look after and make sure he did well at the Nürburgring, and became a good part of the team. And we ultimately ended up, I would say, sticking our neck out for him a little bit at the beginning, letting him drive the taxi, and maybe he was a little bit young at the time, but we got that all clarified, and he ended up turning 27, so I guess we got that out of the way. But yeah, like I said, overall, he's just a fantastic driver, and somebody that the reason I'm getting at that is was willing to stick my neck out for, because I felt like he was a safe driver. He was the guy that if he was out and the customers were in the car, it was going to come back. So I would have rather had a little bit of trouble for letting a 26-year-old drive a taxi possibly, and know that I had the best, the safest driver there. And it really worked out because he has proven to be very reliable, very safe, and incredibly fast. When you need him to do a quick lap, he's on it. He performs, and it's really cool to see. The next driver is David, and David is he is racing for Valkenhorst, okay, and he drives in an M6 GT3 car in VLN and several different series around the world even. And the first actual interaction or even mention of him, we were sitting here, the Apex team was here in my apartment for N24, I guess it was the year prior, and we watched, something popped up on my Facebook feed, and it was just this absolutely insane M6 GT3 lap, and I said, hey guys, you got to see this, and I put it up on the screen, and here's this crazy Brit just flying through traffic, in and out, and in the grass, and off the grass, and on the grass, and through the grass, and dirt flying everywhere, and we just say, you know, you could just imagine like a bulldozer just blowing through, but it was clean. It was so smooth, but it was within centimeters of cars, and we were just laughing like, now that's a lap of the Nürburgring, you know what I mean? And over time, we just kind of, you know, as you do, you see a cool video and you let it go. And then later on down the road, last year, we had a situation where Tim was our main driver along with Moritz, so we had our two main drivers, but Moritz was getting engagements in a lot of different race series and things that he was doing, and there were holes that we needed to fill where Tim was doing full day driving and the other guys weren't available. So Fobson might have been at home, Morien was in the UK and wasn't able to get down for that weekend, and we were looking for a driver to fill in, if you would, and fill these gaps. But again, we had such a great pool of drivers that it was like, man, I can't stand to go and interview drivers and see what we can do, because we've done that and we've had drivers come out and do tests and they just don't have either the skill or the personality, or I would actually say the skill. I haven't found drivers other than ours that I have felt are smooth and fast and clean like ours. And basically what's happened is it turned me off from wanting to do it. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, we just got to struggle through with who we have. Well, long story short, Tim says, look, Robert, why don't we talk with David and let's get him out here. You can sit down with him. You can do a couple laps with him. And so I did that. I sat down with him, and man, the guy can talk. He turns on, he talks, he engages people, he goes after, and he makes it really fun, but he's fast. He is the guy that you want driving your GT3 car, okay? He is on it, he is fearless, he makes the car do things that you don't think is possible, and it's absolutely amazing to watch. But when you own and operate a taxi company, it scares the hell out of you. And the reason is not because you think the car is going to have an issue, it's because you know that kind of speed is hard on parts, okay? He's so quick and so fast that the car's flying through Flansgard, and it's, you know, just loaded up in the corners, and it's really cool to watch, but you do have to take it back a step, because honestly, the pace that David can carry is so far beyond what anybody needs to do in a four-seater M3 taxi on the Nürburgring that you have to bring him back down. And it's actually been quite fun, because even when he's running at 80%, people would get out of the car like, I can't believe what this guy just did with the car. And he's like, you should see me go, you know, another 20%. You know what I mean? And he would gladly do that for you. But so David is the type of guy that is incredibly fast, effortlessly. And he'll get in the car and he'll say, yeah, Robert, I slowed down. Come for a lap with me. I want to show you how slow I am. And we end up like jumping over another car at Flansgarten still. And he's like, see how slow I took that? And you're just laughing because he does it with such ease. And while he's doing it, he's talking to you. He's telling you this corner, that corner. This is what I did at N24 here. I did this in VLN there. And he's talking you through the whole lap and just engaging the customer. And it's really neat to see. So it's cool to see somebody that's that fast, have that personality, and just a true love for the Nürburgring, because he is he is a true fan of the Nürburgring and motorsport as a whole. And so I feel really lucky that we have someone of his caliber as well driving the taxi. And this year, he's going to be alongside Tim, one of our full-time taxi drivers. Moritz, with his big racing schedule that he's doing this year, he's going to step down to specific days. And he's going to focus on, like I mentioned earlier, the School of Racing. And so now David is going to fill into Moritz's position as the full-time taxi driver. And then him and Tim will be side by side. So you're going to have the opportunity to see these guys out here on a regular basis and really get some truly incredible laps from what I would say are some of the fastest people on the Nürburgring. So the next driver that we've got is Luis. Luis is one of our favorite people. I mean, he's got an amazing personality. He's got a character that is just all about fun. He loves the Nürburgring. He actually moved here from Mexico City to simply race on the Nürburgring. He took a big step from halfway around the world to come here, and I believe that he's made a pretty good name for himself. You know, he has become somebody that I see simply as a reliable driver who does RCN, he does VLN, and he's the type of driver that has very good connections and has a reliability and a personality that actually has people coming and saying, I want to race with Luis, and ultimately pay for his seat to race with them, RCN, VLN, etc., because they know this guy is going to reliably help me. He's going to coach me. He's going to instruct me through the racing, and I want him on my team. And I think that's the perfect representation of his character. When you have people that come and say, look, I want to race with Luis. I want Luis on my team. I want you in my car, and I'm willing to pay for you to be in my car. That says something about his character, about his driving style, and about his ability. So this is something that actually led us to Luis, because when he first came to me and said, Robert, I really would like to work with you and everything like that, I can tell you that we have a lot of people that say that. If you go into our inbox and you type taxi driver, it just goes on and on and on with the number of people that want taxi drivers. And I believe it was Diana that said, hey, we've got Luis, and you know, I think we could work with him. And I said, okay, I'll come up and we'll sit down. And within about 30 seconds of talking with him, you could tell he was authentic, he was genuine, and he was the kind of guy that was going to give you his all. He was going to be the best person he could be for Apex. And so not only did we decide that we would take him on for taxi services, but also for his ability to just be an absolutely amazing instructor, and his ability to do everything for Apex in terms of business models that we need him for. He works with us on group bookings, sales. He trains the team for how to answer tickets and how to take care of the customer and just how to improve overall processes. And he's somebody that I've been looking for in Apex for, I would say, 3 years now. And it's been absolutely fantastic to have him. So with Luis, we've got an amazing driver, a great personality, integrity, and then someone who also helps us on a day-to-day basis around Apex. And that's a really, really great package. Now, in terms of his driving, Luis is the guy that came to me and said, Robert, I'm going to drive for you, and I'm going to take care of your customers, your cars. You do not have to worry about them. I will bring them back. I'll bring them safe, and they're going to have a good time. And he said it with a confidence, but also a concern. He knew that that's what he needed to do. That's what he knew was going to be his job. And one thing that I do is I review lap videos quite often. It's very important for me, knowing that we're operating these taxis. We need to look at the safety. We need to look at the driving style. And I watch these videos. And with that, I can tell you that I see that exact quality from the driving of Luis. He's very reliable. The customers come out having a good time. He's laughing with them. He's communicating with them. And he's letting his personality actually drive the entire experience. Somebody who can laugh with the customer and have fun with them and joke and tell the things that are happening, pick up on how somebody's feeling, and it makes their experience that much better. And it's really, really cool to see. So again, all of these qualities are another reason why Luis is driving in VLN with us, because he has all of these attributes, and he's an incredible driver, an incredible race instructor. He gets people and takes them to the next level and gets them to push limits that they were not expecting they possibly could themselves, and it's really neat to see. So for Luis to be coming in and working more as a reserve driver for us, he's always there. If I say, Luis, can you drive today? I'm there. Let's do it. If I say, hey, we don't need you to drive today, he's like, okay, what else can I do? I'll sell laps. I'll do this. I'll do that. absolutely amazing sense of teammanship, and or selflessness, and then the ability to get in the car and perform so well really is top notch. So for Luis, that's the kind of driver that he is. Very reliable, very smooth, understands the car, and just takes the whole personality to the next level and makes people have just a genuinely good time, and they know that they're actually being cared for because of that personality. So that's what has brought Luis to the team, and why we hopefully will keep him around as long as Apex is around. The next driver that we have is Morien. Okay, a lot of you guys will probably know Morien, and he is, I mean, I don't even know how to describe him. He could maybe be okay, if you've watched Hollywood movies and you see the guys just robbed the bank and they go to the getaway car and it's waiting there, it's Morien driving. That's just how it is. Morien's behind the wheel. He's got his gloves on, and they get in and he's smiling ear to ear, and it's full gas and he's gone. He is a cartoon character, if you would, in terms of his personality. He's fun. He's just an absolute riot, and when he gets behind the wheel, he makes the car dance. You know, he's the kind of guy that goes out and throws the car around, slides it around, just has an absolute blast, and the car's under control the whole way. And it's really neat to see. It's really exciting to see. It's hard to describe the fun that he has in the car. We always joke about him that he could have the biggest piece of shit car, and it could be shot bushings and it's moving around and it's just driving terrible, and he'll get out and he'll say, "Oh, that car was shit. It was fantastic. It was the best lap of my life." And that is his entire attitude about racing, about the Nürburgring, about everything, is that he just shows you how fun it can be to drive a car, and he's happy to be behind the wheel. So it really is a pleasure seeing Morien drive, and to see how he interacts with the customers and how he pushes the cars and how he drives the cars. It really, really is a pleasure. And he's another guy that at the beginning I had to work with him and say, you know, Morien, okay, I need you to slow down a little bit and care for the car. You know, it's great that the car is doing these things. It's really neat to see. Everybody loves seeing what the car could do with Morien behind the wheel, but we need to do it for more than 2 laps. You know, when you're running like the M3, because that was kind of the car that he became a specialist in, was the M3. When you're running the M3, you have to keep in mind that we're running over 2 tons fully loaded with 4 people. And when you're running that kind of weight, we do have to make sure that it stays together. We're running a pace that is absolutely incredible, and for that big of a car and that heavy of a car. And so we need to work on our transitions. We can't hit curbs, because you hit curbs and the suspension is just going to get destroyed. And so we have to care for it. And so we had to do some work to get him to say, okay, I get it. I know where that sweet spot is. And man, once he found that sweet spot, he was doing laps that were just blowing people's minds, but was still taking care of the car. And it was really cool to see. So I look forward to many good laps in 2020 with Morien as well. I look forward to him coming out and bringing his personality. There's a picture that we'll see if we can get Tom to put into this video of Morien at the taxi office just doing a jump kick and like clapping his heels together, you know, and that's just, that's Morien right there for you. And I hope you guys, I hope that's just popped up and you can see what I'm talking about. But that's Morien. That's our getaway driver. And if I'm ever robbing a bank, he's behind the wheel. And last but not least, we've got Fobson. Fobson is, he is our gentle giant, if you would. He's, you know, bodybuilder, always working out. When he started driving for us, we always had a good time with him, because he is, how could I describe him as the best I can? You've seen Mr. Incredible, okay? Mr. Incredible's on his way to his office job, and he's sitting in his little, I don't know, his little box car. And Tom's going to put that picture up for you right now as well. This is how we see Fobson when he gets in the M3, because he loves the M3. He loves Schirmer cars. He loves race cars. But we always laughed. We said, I don't know if he's going to fit in this thing. You know, he's just a big guy. And his character is that he's so loving and gentle that for the last 2 years, he's been trying to convince us that he needs a medium t-shirt. And actually just today, he finally said, okay, maybe I'm an extra large. It's just come to him. I'm ordering him a 2X, but he thinks maybe he's no longer a medium, now he's an extra large. But that's his mentality. He's the kind of guy that says, I'm down to earth. I'm here for the customer. I'm here for the enjoyment. See, when he comes to drive taxi for us, he's actually on his vacation. He's here on vacation, and he's here driving taxi during his vacation. That's how much he loves what he's doing. He's not here for the money. He's not here for any of that. He's here to simply enjoy laps with you guys and he puts on a very good performance. He has a GT3RS that's built by Team Schirmer, beautiful suspension setup, alignment, and all stripped out and everything, and it is incredibly quick. I've got a video of one of his laps down here for you guys as well. And he is somebody that just comes out to the track, loves it. He's very technical and very smooth driver. He makes the car work. He makes it just absolutely get up on its toes, but it's so smooth. When I have a new driver, generally we will take different people will go out with them. If it's Tim, will go out with them and do some laps with him, and then say, you know what, I think this guy has the qualities that indicates to me that he could drive the way that we need him to, or yep, there's no chance. So over, I would say, the course of 4 or 5 months, Tom Schirmer was in my ear saying, hey Robert, you really should give Fobson a chance. He's a really good driver, look into it. And at the time we didn't need the spot filled. And in talking with him, hey Robert, if you ever need me, I'll be in town. And eventually I said, you know what, let's go for a lap, let's have a little bit of fun. We took the 600 LT out, and I said, okay, I'm going to drive a nice easy lap and just show you what we do and what we don't do. We don't take these curbs. You know, we watch our speed in this compression because it, you know, compresses the suspension, and we need to make sure it does a lot of laps, and show how we give an exciting lap to the customer while still preserving the car, because that's really what we're doing. We're giving an exciting lap, but we need to make sure we preserve the car. So there's certain places, you know, if we just get a centimeter of air at Flansgarten, or we get 10 centimeters of air at Flansgarten, the customer will not feel the difference, but it will save the car if we go a little bit lower. So I did a lap with Fobson, and I said, okay, you got it? And he goes, man, Robert, this car is amazing. I can tell from the passenger seat the way the chassis feels and everything like that. I said, okay, jump in, go, let's do a lap. So we get in and we're doing a lap, and he's just so delicate with the steering wheel and so smooth and so fluid with it. And we get to the end of the lap, we get to the car park, and he goes, you know, Robert, I hope you're okay with that lap, and I hope that you'll let me do some laps for you. And I just said, you know what, Fobson, car's yours today, go have some fun. And so he worked the 600 LT the rest of the day, taking customers out, and that's the last worry that I had for him driving our cars. Absolutely phenomenal driver. He's doing RCN now, and there's a very good chance also this year that he's going to probably step into VLN as well, and we might be working on a car for him to do that with us as well. So just very technical, smooth driver, but brings speed to it and confidence. And that's really what is important. You know, for me, I believe that sometimes certain qualifications, a lot of people say, oh, to drive taxi, you have to have X number of years of VLN, X number of years of test driving, and X number of years of this and that and the other. And I believe that what that actually does is pre-qualifies people that aren't qualified to do something. I have sat with many people who drive taxis, have driven taxis, that should not be and should not have been driving taxis. And that is actually dangerous, because they say, oh, I've been racing VLN. Go into a VLN race and you see so many instances where somebody crashes because they turned in on somebody, because they had arrogance and they thought they had the right of way, or they just didn't want to give up a position. And that is not the qualities that we look for in a taxi driver. We look for somebody that's going to be safe, that's not going to let their, I would say, arrogance or cocky attitude get in the way of them delivering a nice smooth lap and a safe lap. So for me, it's been a pleasure getting to work with these people and determine if I think that they're qualified based on how they handle traffic, how they handle the car, how they handle a wet day in terms of car control and movement. And if you're very critical on those points, you can weed out and get drivers who understand your position. It is very difficult, because I am the last person that ever wants to tell somebody you're doing something wrong, you're doing this incorrectly, because I don't like being told, obviously, when I've done something wrong. It's hard. It's hard to take criticism, but these 6 guys have taken the development that I've given from my opinion and my input, and they have taken it just fantastically and turned themselves into what I really think are just a fantastic set of taxi drivers. So it's really cool for me to see that. It definitely is not any of my doing. I've obviously shared ideas that I have, but they're the ones that have the skill and the ability to actually adapt to that and say, look, I'm going to take this input, and I'm not going to say, no, I'm the professional driver, you sit down, I'm driving taxi. They're saying, hey, you know what, I think I can do that. I think I can improve on that. You know, it's hard for me, honestly, it's hard for me as, I would say, more of a hobbyist driver to come in and tell Moritz, hey Moritz, I think you need to take it a little bit easier out of Versiphon. You know, he came to me one day and said, Robert, the car's doing a funny shift coming out of Versiphon. I said, okay, take me and show me. And my God, I tell you what, we came flying out of Versiphon. I thought I was in like I don't even know, a GT3 car. We come flying out of there, just full beans. I've never done that in my life, coming out of Versiphon like that. And he's just pulling gears coming out of the turn. I'm just like, okay, Moritz, well, you know, if I weighed 2 tons and you were, you know, putting this kind of load on it, I could see where the transmission might be doing funny things, you know. And for him, it's just so natural and so smooth. And it was beautiful the way the car came out and it just moved. And so for me, it's hard to say, well, you know, maybe if you take it just a little easier, put it on a little bit more load down a gear and ride it out, then the car won't have to lug right there. And he said, oh yeah, I can try that. And he goes, oh yeah, that works great. You know, it's not doing anything funny there anymore. But yeah, so for me as like I said, more of a hobby driver and someone that's just here for the Nürburgring to have fun, to go to David, who's racing GT3 cars, to go to Moritz, who's doing this, Tim with all of his experience, all these guys, and say, I need you to do this. That's also hard for me to, you know, to do that because I don't want to be imposing and I don't want to be difficult. But they've all been just so respectful and so cool about the whole thing, and they've actually been the part of the team that has made the Apex taxi program as successful as it is. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I guess that leads us to the 7th driver, and hands down the best, most exciting, book a lap with him. That's me. For me, I do go out and I really enjoy the taxi program. I enjoy the laps. But a lot of times I'll just post up and say, hey guys, if you want to go out and we're going to go cruise, we're going to go have some fun. I can definitely, the pace that the guys are doing, I can drive the same pace as them when we're doing the taxi laps. That's no problem. I can go out and push the cars and have a really good time. But what I enjoy is actually going out and sharing the experience with people. So when I jump in the car, the people know, okay, I'm going out with Robert, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to share what is one of my passions, and that is the Nürburgring and the cars and just how amazing they are. We'll talk about the car, talk about the setup, talk about what we're doing. Sometimes people say, Robert, can we just do a slow lap? I want to just talk about Apex and about what your experience is on the Nürburgring, or, you know, by the time we get done, we know half about their family, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's something for me that's really special, is to actually go out and get to enjoy the customer. So when you guys see me post up and say, hey, we're going to go do some laps, you're going to get with me in the GT2RS, which is built by Manthey Racing, which I definitely don't need that much car, you know, but I love it. It's just, I'm a geek for that kind of thing. Or you're going to go out with me in the M3, and you're going to just see what I think about the car and what I feel about the car. And I'm going to tell you how the car feels when you drive it, because I am very connected with the car. But I want to share my love of the Nürburgring and my love of driving and everything like that with you guys. So that just kind of tells you, why do I drive the taxis? And it's never scheduled. It's usually like, okay, guys, I'm going to jump in. Or, hey, you know what? Tomorrow I'm coming up to the Nürburgring. I have an itch to drive, so I'll make a post on Instagram or something like that. And it's always a good time. So I'm very, very fortunate that I have that luxury to be able to do that and say, hey, I want to take some people out. Do you guys mind if I do it? And we usually jump in and do that. And it really is a good experience, and it's something fun to do. But I hope that gives you guys a little bit of an insight as what it takes to be a taxi driver, why we've chosen the guys that we have, and I think the high regard that I hold each and every one of them in. If you have any questions, shoot some comments down below, and maybe give me any ideas of anything else you want to know about Apex, about the team or myself, and we'll do our best to get that information out to you.